Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH. Plus, we got 25 wins in a row. I almost started to run as the Lost. That would have been disappointing. This is scary. V8NXGKCX. Our stats are bad, except rate of fire. Well, really, just our damage stat is bad. But we have some of the best... Like, we have a really good active item in Box of Spiders, and we have an amazing... passive in Infestation 2. I'm gonna level with you, you know. I just don't think Marked is worth the squeeze. I'll take Wiggle Worm for a Tears upgrade. I'm not sure, like, if I'm willing to take Marked for a Tears upgrade. Now, it's gonna... I like it because it's gonna get the people going. There's gonna be some controversy early on. How dare you not take Marked? It's, hey, he did the right thing, but, you know, it's good. We get those kind of conversations happening, and we learn something about one another in the process. Like, for example, one of the things we learn is who likes Marked, and then on the flip side, who's a good gamer who's making good decisions. Hey, that's not fair. Okay, so we do have red hearts. We might... actually, what we learned there is that we don't have spirit hearts. Little spooky. Little spooky. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Hold on. Hold on. I want the Tinted Rock, but I kind of want some insurance that if I blow up one of the TNTs too close to me, that I won't perish in the process. Like, if I could get red hearts from the boss first, that would just be the worst way to go, you know? To take damage while trying to get a Tinted Rock to blow up. Like, that would send me to the Shadow Realm. I may never recover from that, so I'm just gonna be cool here. Just gonna sort it out. Just gonna hang out, relax. Pick up another red heart if we have to, because we could be on half of a red heart right now. It's important to note, we could be one hit away from our own demise. So if we could just slow it down, don't put yourself at too much risk. That's more what we're looking for right there. Alright. Then, we should be able to blow this up. Beautiful. Actually, pretty great. Let's also use our bomb to maybe find a second secret room. That's very nice as well. I don't know how many hearts we have, but at least we didn't get nothing out of it. And we'll head down to the next floor feeling like pretty good about things. Feeling pretty good about things overall. We had 3 HP, 4 after we picked up the rest. So it turns out that everything was completely fine. And this run is looking extremely great. It's a very good looking run right now. How am I doing? I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It is a Thursday. You know, the days don't necessarily mean as much as they used to because the routine is kind of in flux. But that's okay. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It's just getting used to it. I gotta tell you, last night we made hot pot for dinner. So, like, I don't know, maybe a year ago we bought one of these, like, Zojirushi, like, electric skillets. You use it for hot pot. It's got like a steaming attachment. You can steam dumplings in it. I understand that, you know, you're gonna perhaps make a joke. Hey, I know, steam these dumplings. It's not really like that. You can steam vegetables in it. You can steam a lot of stuff in it. It's very it's a niche cooking product, I will admit, but also a very good one. I've never really been like a hot pot guy. Like, in terms of the foods... Oh, my Atlanta. In terms... you know what I think is a really interesting discussion to have? And before we say this, I'm just going to say, the hot pot was delicious. We can move on from that part of the anecdote. We found a meatier spot on the chicken wing we're going to chew on a little bit. What is the food that you have the largest discrepancy with society on? What is the food that... either society loves and you dislike or hate even, or a food that society, you know, likes or hates but you love it a lot? You know, because like I prefer to think about it in the other direction. I'll tell you, I think the food where me and society differ the most, sorry, society and I differ the most, is spaghetti. I really, like, it kind of blows my mind. And I'm not saying they're wrong. If anything, I'm the aberrant case here. But it kind of blows my mind when people are like, I like spaghetti, yum yum, I'm craving spaghetti right now. Like, the idea that someone would order spaghetti from a restaurant is kind of insane to me. I tolerate spaghetti. You know, if Kate's like, you want to have some spaghetti tonight? I'm always like, no, but if you really want it, we can do it. Like, I'm not going to, you know, cry about it or whatever. It's still fuel at the end of the day. But it harbors very little appeal to me. For whatever reason, it's, first off, I don't like, I've only recently started to eat more pasta, to be honest with you. But I do like a lot of pasta, but spaghetti is probably like my least favorite noodle. And then like a bolognese is like my least favorite type of sauce. I much prefer like a pesto-based sauce or you know, a butter-based sauce than a tomato sauce. I don't mind a tomato sauce, but you know, on pizza, for example. But I'm open and perhaps even more amenable to other sauces as well. So for me, spaghetti is just kind of like it occupies the worst place in the pasta pantheon. It's like worst noodle combined with worst sauce. But people go crazy for it. That's like, I've never in my life, I've had pasta cravings. I understand that nobody is listening to me anymore. They're merely focusing on the fact that I'm pronouncing the word wrong. But that's fine. I'm used to it at this point. You know what? Let's stick with Box of Spiders. I think it's got some value. But either way, people, when they say, like, they get cravings for spaghetti, it's never happened to me in my life. I've had cravings for, you know, cacio and pepe. I've had cravings for, you know, like a delicious tagliatelle or something like that, or even like a penne, a sausage penne in a tomato and meat sauce, sure. But for me, it's just, the spaghetti, it's more of like a chore to eat versus the quality of the food most of the time. And I've had, you know, bolognese from restaurants that were well-liked. Let's put it, I'm not saying I've been to, you know, we invented spaghetti at this restaurant. I haven't been there, but I don't think it's an issue of having just had the wrong spaghetti. Let me say it that way. So, and again, I don't think society's wrong in this one. I think, you know, for whatever reason, the appeal just doesn't appeal to me as much as it does to other people. I'm always interested to hear, like, what's that food that everybody around you can't stop talking about, but you've got, like, no interest in? I mean, there's a few more, honestly, that I'll hit you up with. I don't really... I mean, I don't dislike it, but I could really take or leave bubble/boba tea. Kate loves it, and especially when she was pregnant, I would, you know, go out at least once a week to get her some boba tea. Now, let me be level with you. You know, sometimes my wife would be like, hey, on your way home, can you get McDonald's breakfast? Even if I shouldn't get McDonald's breakfast for myself, I was getting myself a McDonald's breakfast sandwich because I can't resist it. I find it delicious. I choose not to resist it. Let's put it that way. So it's not like I'm you know, nutritionally rigid necessarily when it comes to this sort of stuff. But, you know, I never in my life have I been at the bubble tea emporium and been like, and while I'm here, I'll also take this for myself. You know, it's just, for whatever reason, it just doesn't strike me. It's obviously more than well liked. It's beloved. It's one of the trendiest foods of like the past decade for sure. Just for whatever reason, it never really struck me. But I'm always surprised. Like, the same way that you're probably going, like, you don't like spaghetti, is the way that I feel when somebody's like, I don't like pizza. That's like, I'm like, what do you mean you don't like pizza? Like, first off, it's delicious. I don't know if you've considered the fact that it's objectively delicious, but it is. Secondly, you gotta be more specific. What do you mean you don't like pizza? There's so many different kinds of pizza. You don't like a pepperoni pizza with tomato sauce? Okay. What about what about having like a pesto-based pizza? Or what about like a cream sauce, like a chicken Caesar pizza, chicken taco salad pizza, treatza pizza, dessert pizza, sushi pizza? It's like, you know, you don't like a margherita pizza? You don't like a thin crust wood-fired oven pizza? It's got the most delicious melange of flavors you could ever ask for. So I understand how it goes. I mean, there's a couple more. If we want to, like, start a fight today, we can start a fight. Fish and chips, pretty good, but overrated. And I know, you know, depending on where you live, maybe you live in England right now, you're like, you haven't had good fish and chips. I'll tell you, I have, believe it or not. My hometown has a lot of, like, English-inspired fish and chips places. I think we'll go hard on both here. This should be like a guaranteed win at this point. And I've had fish and chips that were, like, actually fantastic. But here's my hot take on this subject, okay? Most fish and chips, unfortunately, end up falling into a middle range where you can only taste grease. And then secondarily, I gotta tell you, the fish part I got no issue with. The chips part, sometimes I'm like, it's just a little too much of, like, you know, a light brown food. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the idea of fish and chips appeals to me greatly, and then when I finish the fish and I start eating some more of the chips, I'm like, you know what, it's too decadent. I kind of feel like we should rework it. Like, it should be like fish and Greek salad or something like that. Then you get the oily fish, but you get, like, the vinegary aspect of the salad with the freshness of the cucumbers or something like that. And I'm not trying to be anti-fish and chips, but, you know, for a while, like, if I would go to a pub, I would be like, you know what, I'll have the fish and chips. Then I realized at the end of the day, like, I enjoy the fish at, like a 7 to 10 out of 10 level. The chips are too much for me, so now I'll just, you know, I'll get something else. I'm not trying to, I mean, I guess I went a little hard. I don't mean to suggest that fish and chips are, you know, an entree non grata for me. If someone was like, hey, do you want to go get a delicious fish and chips meal? I'd be like, yeah, absolutely, let's go. It sounds like fun. But if I have a choice on the menu, usually I'll get something else. And I say this as someone who's probably eaten fish and chips at upwards of, like, at least 200 times in my life. Probably more. And I think you're going to get me in a little bit of trouble here. Yeah, I'm alienating audiences, both North America and European at this point. The hamburger itself I find overrated. I know that it's like a sacred cow. I don't mean to insult the concept of the hamburger, and not all hamburgers are created equal. There's some great ones and some terrible ones. But when I go to a restaurant and I see that there's like 17 different hamburgers on the menu, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to a different section. Here's what I'll say, you know, if you give me the choice between hamburger and sandwich, I'm almost always going to go with the sandwich. I'm not saying all hamburgers are the same. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's old Jack Daniel's barbecue burger. Oh, this one's got a fried egg on top of it. This one's got sauteed mushrooms on it. It's crazy. Sauteed mushrooms. Have you ever seen anything like that? This one's got an onion ring. Look at it. Sheila, an onion ring. I'm more of a sandwich guy, because with the sandwiches you get, they run the gamut a little bit more. You know, you can have a deli style sandwich. You can vary up the bread. You don't always have to have it on like a, you know, a Kaiser roll. You could have it on a submarine style roll. You could have it on a ciabatta. You could have it on a pretzel bun. You could even have it on a hamburger bun if you so. You could have garlic bread. You know, it's like there's a lot there. There's a lot to unpack, but there's also a lot to like, in my opinion. So if we're taking a side in sandwiches versus burgers, then I am on the sandwich side. I understand well, here's the way. I think that the burger is too elevated. I think that a burger should be considered a subset of sandwiches instead of its own category. But I don't want to cause problems, you know. And I hesitate to talk about these controversial issues doing solo content, because I normally like to invite somebody who's like Malf. I think would be a great foil for me right now. I think he'd be talking about, like, you know, if you get your own meat grinder and you grind it up, and then you could have like a lamb burger. Or a bison burger. You know, this is a good mouth impression. You might not recognize it right now, but it's a good mouth impression. Worth. Highly, highly worth. What? The depression cloud is not a that's not a familiar you can sack with sack altar. All right, if you insist. Anyway, I'm always, and I don't think there's any wrong answers here. If there is a wrong answer, I think pizza is close to the wrongest answer, but that's okay. In some ways, having the wrongest answer is actually the rightest outcome for you. If you have a gulf between, you know, your most hated food is society's most loved food, congratulations, you're the Joker. But also secondarily, I think that makes you someone worth talking to in this situation without a doubt. I think there's a bunch that will also show up as well. Like, I think a lot of people will be like, I don't really get sushi. That's fine, you know? The only time I get annoyed, we gotta be careful we don't actually overfill that. The only time I get annoyed, and this happens on the NLSS from time to time, but it's when people try to justify their opinion of, like, this thing that's very well liked, not media, because this is a different story, I think, but you know, this food that's extremely well liked is actually bad. Like, if people, they'll sometimes have the opinion, like, you know, all wines taste the same. It's not true. I have no wine palate. To me, all wines taste the same, but that's subjective. You know, all wines taste the same to me because I've never put in the effort to actually learn, you know, the difference between a Zinfandel and a Pinot Grigio and a Pinot Noir and, you know, a Merlot and et cetera, right? I know this because, you know, when I was in university, you know, and I had a little Jack Daniels, I had a little Jim Beam, and I was like, all whiskeys taste exactly the same. First off, those are more, well, I guess Jim Beam's more of a bourbon, but anyway, you know, there's kind of like, there's a thin line between some, for sure. But now I have like a little bit more of a refined kind of Scotch whiskey palate, and I noticed differences that were not apparent in the first, you know, tasting. So if someone's like, sushi's really popular, I don't like it though, I'm like, that's fine. If they go, oh, everybody's lost their mind, raw fish. Why would you go to a restaurant and pay people not to cook your food? I can do that myself. I'm like, I get it. You have a chip on your shoulder. You're sensitive about this for whatever reason, but I think you're barking up the wrong tree, so don't be starting something. Me and my partner are going to test your chest, Loveless. Can't stand the heat. Get out the wild while going straight. Anyway, dude. I mean, I'll tell you, sushi wouldn't be my first pick most of the time either, but I do, when we get it, I do like it. I do like it. Anyway, that was a cool discussion. That was fun. I'm interested to see what people's responses are. Wonder, like, I think spaghetti, it wouldn't surprise me if spaghetti's up there. I don't know, like, I have such a warped perception about it. Like, when I see, like, a show and someone's like, I'm a picky eater, I only eat spaghetti, I'm like, what's wrong with you? It's the grossest food. It's like a big plate of snakes covered in blood. Someone's like, I only eat chicken nuggets. I'm like, I get it, they're delicious. Of course, chicken nuggets. You made a... If you're only gonna eat one food for the rest of your life, sure. I mean, you should really try to expand your palate, and I also wonder, like, how this came to pass, that you only eat one food, because I really don't think, and maybe this is gatekeeping of me, and I'll admit that, you know, it might ruffle some people's feathers, but I really don't think that it's legitimate that you only like one food. I think maybe you have, like, a mental block to other foods. Like, maybe, like, you've gotten confused in the sense that you're like, I only like chicken nuggets. What is actually the thing is you like chicken nuggets at, like, a 10 out of 10. But you like other foods at like a 7? I hate to be this guy, but sometimes you gotta eat 7 out of 10 foods. Why? I'm an adult, I can do what I want. You can, but you're gonna die, honestly. Like, you're gonna pass away. Everybody's gonna die, but like... And I mean, that's valid, I guess, if you think that, like, you know, the fact that we're all gonna die someday justifies the fact that, you know, you might end up leaving 20 years early just so you can eat battered pieces of chicken for every meal. For me personally, I would like to suggest and put forth the notion that there are other more rewarding things in life, you know, friends, family, you know, career, hobbies, and you know, even just a sense of, like, You know, hey, let's see where things go, you know? I don't think life is all about eating fried corn products and deep fried chicken nuggets, but, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like them. You know, I just think, like, I don't want to be in a casket at, like, 55, and people be like, how did he die? And they're like, he just never got over the fact that he loved chicken nuggets. He just couldn't stop eating them. There's worse ways to go. It's a tragic smelting accident, for example. Isn't that weird? But, I'm gonna try to get into boss rush here. You think... it actually worked. Lucky me. Excuse me? I'm just saying. Like I said, you know what did I say in the last episode? I'm like non-judgmentally judgmental. Like I actually think, you know, you should have the right to, you know, have whatever diet you want to have. But I also, you know, I mean, if you're a grown adult that only eats chicken nuggets, you know, I'm gonna start to at least ask some questions. You gotta accept that it's a weird situation. If you're gonna be like, please don't ask me questions about the fact that I only eat chicken nuggets, I think that's kind of interesting. I think there's a lot to unpack there. So Pyromaniac is actually fantastic for us with fruitcake. It's gonna solve our main problem there of damaging ourselves accidentally. I mean, that's pretty sweet too, honestly. Anyway, I mean, I'm curious whenever somebody only eats one kind of food. It's very rare. If you're like, I prefer to only eat one kind of food, I understand, dude. I mean, there's days where, like, I don't eat anything that's not in rectangular bar form until, like, you know, 5 or 6 p.m. I'm not suggesting that that's good. I mean, I think that's where, like, I differ from some people with their weird dietary situations, where I'm like, ashamed of that. Some people are like, you don't get to judge me. I'm like, please judge me. Maybe it'll get me to stop. Maybe it'll get... Because, like, my mom's been making me all these soups, right? Which is awesome. And they're delicious. Like, yesterday I had 2 bowls of this delicious lentil soup that she made. It was fantastic. But, like, they keep piling up in the fridge. Because I don't take the time to eat, like, a warm lunch. Like, if lunch requires warming something up, I'm like, I don't have time for that. Which is not necessarily true. I could make time for it. Let's put it that way. In a variety of different ways. But I'm like embarrassed. I'm less of the position that I'm like, you know, don't judge me. And I'm more like, please judge me harder. And you're gonna have to be really good at the judging aspect too. Because, like, I have a talent and a knack for rhetoric. So you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to push back. I'm gonna probably hit you with something like, hey, before you criticize me, like, show me a photo of your room so I can see if you're, you know, you got busted up Gunpla figures all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, let me see if you got any toothpaste marks on your body pillows. I'm gonna hit you with an unfair ad hominem attack like that, and you're gonna have to stand strong and resist. You're not gonna be able to twist in the wind. You're gonna have to show some, you know, you're gonna have to show your backbone. But in the end, it might be better for both of us. Am I insane? I'm looking at this and I'm like, is there a boss on this floor? Are we trapped here forever? There is a boss, okay. I'm just saying in general, like, I think it's good to eat a diversity of foods, you know? I do think, though, if you're like one... I'll be honest with you, the minimalist lifestyle does appeal to me. Like, I don't live a minimalist lifestyle. But I kind of do. Like, I would say that I live a minimalist-esque lifestyle within a maximalist bubble. The maximalist bubble is more like the domestic environment that's created by, you know, my wife and also the baby right now. Like, you can't really have, like, there's no minimalist baby that's like, I'm going to use exclusively one outfit. Like, that's just setting yourself up for disaster. But I do kind of, like, the idea of being one of those guys who has, like, you know, only 3 different outfits and just does a small load of laundry every 3 days. And has, like, you know, 1 plate, 1 spoon, 1 bowl. Like, that kind of, it definitely does interest me. And also, like, hey, you know, I meal prep on Sundays and then eat the same dinner like 7 times a row. Dude, there's some weird Z fighting. I almost threw up when my brain didn't know what to do when the spiders were like in front of the spikes there. That was weird. I'm not sure how long I would make it work in that minimal sense, but I do consider myself kind of a minimalist guy in that sense, very low maintenance. Like when, you know, Kate went to Tokyo Game Show a couple of years ago. Basically, like 2 times a week, I just made an enormous pot of vegetarian curry, and then I would just eat it like for lunch and dinner. And I was happy as a clam. That being said, I think you... It helps if you know you have a diverse food profile within that. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the chicken nuggets, but there's really only 2 ingredients in a chicken nugget, right? Chicken and bread. And it's not even, I mean, it's chicken, but it's like the weird bubblegum chicken. You guys like John Michael Montgomery? Is that his name? With love in the morning and bubblegum chicken at night. We don't want to spend on that. Anyway, what was I talking about? I forgot. I forgot the dipping sauce. Okay, as long as you dip it, I think that's the rule. If you're eating those chicken nuggets dry, you're asking for an appointment with the Grim Reaper. If you dip it in a sauce that has some kind of vegetable component, oh, no doctor could convict you. You're gonna be fine. You got nothing to worry about. This runs in the books, by the way. It's in the books. It's in the books. Get it? It's in the books, dude. It's in the books. Because we just got a bunch of books. I'm looking forward to the rest of today. It's only 10 a.m. I stream like 2 to 7 today. It's going to be a long one for certain. But I'm excited to record some other videos today, dude. Fall Guys update, as mentioned a couple videos ago, has come out. It's a lot of fun. I'm making great inroads in Spelunky 2, doing some weird one-off stuff in other series. Like, it's a good time for the YouTube channel, in my opinion. I mean, Isaac, by the way, I'm not being negative about Isaac. Isaac's been a great time lately, too. We've basically gotten a month of straight victories. And the best part about it is, of course, the fact that our last loss, like, nobody blamed us for at all. Which is pretty fair, because it was horrible. I'm not even going to lose my all stats up here. I think we're going to get a demon heart ASAP. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? But yeah, dude, I'm like... I really don't... I mean, like, I don't have any inside information, okay? I don't think the DLC is going to come out before the end of 2020. And I don't even know if I would feel comfortable being like, I see it happening before, like, June 2021. But again, I want to be extremely clear. I have no insider information whatsoever. It's just, you know... Somebody brought up to me, like, a tweet that I made... It was 2 years ago. That was like, do you think I'll get to episode 1000 of Afterbirth Plus before the new DLC comes out? We're now almost on episode 2000. So we're 1,000 days. I mean, we've had maybe some days with more than one video, but not too many. But we've had like 1,000 days of... On 1,000 days extra, which doesn't even seem possible. 1,000 videos, at least, extra. On top of what we thought was like a reasonable projection. So, you know, it's not like... I think it's coming. But there is a certain level for me that's like, I will believe it when I see it as well. It's kind of like Cyberpunk, you know? Until I have it in my hands, I'm not really gonna... It won't have registered to me as a real thing. It's not our finest chest here. Chest seller. I need your finest chest. I'm headed into Isaac. You can't handle my... Okay, that's enough. The baby's still asleep. I will wake the baby to feed. That's no problem. I will not wake the baby to do an impression of Potion Seller. That's just ignorant. We have Pyromaniac. Get in there, dude. Okay, it's Acid Baby. Doesn't appeal to me all that much. Have to be honest with you. It's kind of is a little past its best before date. Can we, you know, I'm not like interested in running for public office, but if I ran for like head of the Food and Drug Administration, I think we should start to print more descriptive best before labels. Like, we don't have, I mean, I guess on a literal sense, you do kind of pay by the letter. But I think we're like, we as a society have progressed beyond our capabilities. Like, in the sense, like on the bottom of like a yogurt cup, it'll say like BBMA30. Okay, it's best before March 30th. But there's more information there that can be gleaned. Is it best before March 30th, like if it's open? No, because like once it's open, like let's say it's yogurt, it's only good for, I don't know, maybe like 7 days after that. Why don't you put like best before March 30th if unopened? If opened, consume within 7 days after opening. Like you could just put it in smaller fonts. I don't understand why. And you know, like food is not even the real example here that I'm going for. You know what annoys me is those tags in like in your clothes. Now, if you're running the graphic T-shirt life, you know they're all, you know, put them in the washer, put them in the dryer, no problem. But some of the clothes that we have, and by we I mean my wife, because I'm pretty much on the graphic T-shirt train. They're like, none of them are hand wash only, which is great. But some of them are dry clean only. Some of them are, you know, cold water only. Some of them are like washing's fine, but you gotta, you know, hang dry them. Some of them are like washing is fine, drying is fine, but make sure the dryer's set on delicates. Like, so this stuff is fine, but why do you have to know like a whole new language of symbology? Like sometimes Kate will be like, "Oh, just look on the tag," and the tag has like an iron with an X through it. Okay, I understand that, but then it has like a weird bucket that's half full, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. You can't just print on the tag in whatever language, you know, is the store you bought it from, like hand wash only, or like washing is fine, drying is fine. Like, why do I have to have, why do I have to learn a new language to understand how to wash these clothes? Again, if you're doing simple laundry, it's not relevant. But go look at like your most complicated piece of clothing. The tag is probably going to have like some kind of symbolic language on it. I don't know how to... I don't know what any of the symbols mean, except the iron with the X through it, which is no problem because I was not going to iron regardless. I just don't understand why we don't use like plain language. I mean, I also understand I have a weird brain for this sort of stuff. So we have like a soap dispenser that's battery powered. And I know, like, I don't want to get stuck in the weeds on this one of why we have it. Suffice it to say, it is in our possession, okay? It's a dish soap dispenser where, like, you put your hand under it and it dispenses soap, okay? Yes, I know I am more than capable of merely pressing the button myself to get the soap to come out. I'm just saying, we do have one. And so it takes 4 AA batteries. It's like an original Game Boy, you know? You get, like, 6 pumps and then it's done. Now, sounds like, yeah, we're done. We're leaving those jokes behind, okay? Those jokes, we're leaving those behind in 1972. Why don't you get with the times? It's all about absurdism now. So I was replacing the batteries the other day, and like on the left side, it had the plus terminal for batteries, and on like a picture of a plus. And on the right side, it had a picture of a minus. So on the plus side, I put the plus in first. So like the plus is facing in, which means the minus will be facing out. And then on the minus side, I thought the way that I interpreted it was that minus means put the minus side of the battery in first instead of, like, you know, the plus side. Then it wasn't working, and I was like, what's wrong? And then Kate was like, oh, you put the batteries in backwards. The plus side, you put the minus side in first, and then that way the plus side is facing out. Like, I'm all for elegance, but, like, if you're gonna design a system that's elegant, it has to actually be apparent, you know? You've created a Norman door of batteries here. Like, what does plus mean? When you... Nobody out there, you know, 50% of people are gonna get it right and 50% of people are gonna get it wrong. You might as well have put nothing on the bottom, because you're not gonna change the actual outcome of, like, usability. Like, plus, without any kind of, like, you know, adverb associated with it, doesn't mean anything. Does that mean plus goes in first, or plus is facing out? Anyway, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like a very small thing to complain about, but why don't, if they're going to print the plus, why don't they just show the picture of the battery facing out or something like that? It's just absurd to me. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the episode, if you did, click the like button. It's a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. Really, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. See ya!